6 reasons a narcissist will come back like nothing happened. Have you ever had a narcissist in your life? Someone who seemed to disappear without a word, only to show up again like nothing ever happened. It's baffling, isn't it? 1 minute, they've ghosted you, and the next, they're acting as if there was never any fallout. How do they do this? Why does it seem like they just move on without a second thought? And why do they always come back? This isn't just a one-time occurrence for narcissists. It's a pattern, one that can be emotionally draining, confusing, and even devastating for anyone involved with them. In today's video, we'll explore 6 key reasons why narcissists behave this way, why they often return like nothing ever happened, and what their true motivations are. Stick around until the end of the video, because understanding these reasons will help you deal with narcissists more effectively, whether in personal relationships, at work, or even in family dynamics. Before we dive in, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who might find it helpful. Understanding narcissistic behavior is something everyone can benefit from. Now, let's get started. The narcissist's need for validation. One of the core reasons narcissists return to your life without acknowledging the past is because they are driven by a constant need for validation. For a narcissist, attention and admiration are like air. They cannot survive without it. When they leave and then come back, it's often because they feel their self-esteem is taking a hit. The absence of praise or the feeling of being overlooked creates a sense of emptiness they cannot bear. Imagine that you've been an emotional support, a source of admiration, or perhaps someone who fed their ego, whether it's through constant compliments, attention, or affection. When the narcissist goes silent, it's often because they've exhausted you for the moment, and they're seeking someone new to fill that role. However, once they begin to feel insecure, rejected, or simply less powerful in their other relationships, they return, hoping to restore their sense of worth. What's important to note here is that they won't acknowledge the hurt or confusion they caused when they left. They simply slide back in as if everything is normal, eager to reap the benefits of your attention once more. They don't return with remorse. They return with the same demand for admiration and validation. The cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard continues without regard for the emotional cost to anyone else. Control and power dynamics. Another reason narcissists come back like nothing happened is their desire to maintain control. Narcissists thrive on power, and one of the ways they achieve this is by creating instability in their relationships. When they leave, it's often not because they don't care, but because they need to test your attachment to them or regain control over a situation. When they disappear and then reappear, it's like pulling a power move. They're testing whether you will take them back, whether you will accept them back into your life with open arms, or whether you will seek them out. It's a way of asserting dominance and showing that they can have an impact on your emotions, whether it's by causing you pain or winning you over again. The return is about more than rekindling a connection. It's about maintaining the upper hand. When narcissists come back, they often act as though nothing happened because they don't need to. You're in a position where you are likely eager for reconciliation or closure, which allows them to feel powerful. This dynamic creates an emotional roller coaster for the person involved, who might wonder why the narcissist is acting as though the past conflicts were never important. The truth is, to the narcissist, they weren't. The fear of losing control over you. This point ties into the previous one, but is more specific to the fear of losing someone or something they feel entitled to. Narcissists aren't just interested in admiration, they are also interested in possession. People, in the narcissist's mind, are either tools to be used or extensions of themselves. If you've been a consistent source of admiration, support, or validation for them, they can become deeply afraid of losing you. This fear, which may manifest as a sense of entitlement, drives their behavior. When they leave, it's often not because they want to end things for good, but because they need to see if you will chase after them. If you don't, they may feel threatened or insecure, and the fear of losing control over you is enough to make them return. They may also come back because they've seen that you've moved on or that you've stopped offering them the attention they crave. This makes them want to reassert control and remind you of their presence in your life. In essence, when a narcissist returns, they aren't just trying to resume a relationship. They are trying to remind you of your place in their world. They want you to know that they can come and go as they please, and that you'll always be available when they want you. The need for supply. Narcissists are often referred to as having an insatiable need for narcissistic supply, which refers to any form of attention, admiration, or validation they receive from others. This supply is what sustains their inflated self-image and keeps them feeling secure. When narcissists feel their supply is running low, they will often look for ways to replenish it. This is one of the most common reasons a narcissist will come back to someone they've discarded. You might have been a steady source of supply for them in the past, and when they've exhausted other options, they turn to you again. What's important to understand is that they don't return because they miss you in any emotional sense. They return because they want their supply back. They might act like nothing ever happened because they don't need to acknowledge the hurt they caused in order to get what they want: your attention, your affection, and your emotional energy. In some cases, a narcissist might even come back after a long absence, appearing like they've changed or grown. However, their underlying motive remains the same: to secure the supply they need to feed their ego. Once they've gained enough attention, admiration, or validation from you, they may disappear again, only to repeat the cycle. The desire to reignite the drama. For narcissists, the emotional ups and downs of relationships can feel like a form of entertainment or excitement. They thrive on drama, whether it's the rush of creating chaos, the emotional highs of intense connection, or the satisfaction of watching someone chase after them. When a narcissist leaves and then returns, it's often about reigniting the drama. They might come back without acknowledging the hurt they caused, simply because they find the emotional reactions they provoke interesting. For example, when they return, they might be hoping for a strong emotional reaction from you: anger, sadness, or even joy. These emotional responses are what fuel their sense of power and importance. By returning like nothing happened, they stir up your emotions and reignite the chaos that feeds their need for attention. In this case, the narcissist isn't trying to heal or reconcile. They're trying to get a reaction out of you, to pull you back into the emotional turmoil they enjoy. This behavior often leaves the other person feeling manipulated and confused, unsure of whether the narcissist truly wants a relationship or is just playing games. Lack of accountability or empathy. Finally, narcissists often return without acknowledging the hurt they've caused because they lack empathy and the ability to take responsibility for their actions. Narcissism is fundamentally rooted in an inability to see beyond one's own needs and desires. To a narcissist, the world revolves around them, and the feelings of others are often secondary or irrelevant. When a narcissist comes back after a period of absence, they typically don't see any reason to address the hurtful behavior that led to their departure. Their lack of accountability makes it easy for them to slide back into a relationship or friendship as though nothing happened. They may even justify their past actions or rewrite history in a way that places the blame on others. This is part of the narcissist's worldview. They cannot acknowledge their own flaws, mistakes, or shortcomings because it threatens their fragile self-image. As a result, when they come back, it's not with an apology or a desire to fix things. It's with the expectation that things will continue as if nothing ever changed. This can be incredibly frustrating and hurtful for anyone who has been affected by their behavior. So, there you have it. 6 reasons why a narcissist will come back like nothing ever happened. Whether it's their need for validation, control, supply, or drama, narcissists are often motivated by self-interest rather than genuine emotional connection. Understanding these reasons helps you recognize the patterns of narcissistic behavior and avoid falling into their traps. If this video was helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It's important to understand how narcissists operate so you can protect your emotional well-being. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. A narcissist's final words. Narcissism is a term we've all heard, but do we really understand what it means? When someone is described as a narcissist, what exactly are they going through? What happens when a narcissist's world begins to crumble? If you've ever felt like you were walking on eggshells around someone, always wondering if your actions, your words, or even your presence would provoke a reaction, there's a chance you've encountered a narcissist. They're not just self-absorbed. They manipulate and control others in ways that can feel both subtle and devastating. Today, we're going to unravel the world of a narcissist, what fuels their behavior, how they view the world, and what their final words might look like when they are faced with losing the control they've so carefully crafted. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Share it with a friend or loved one who might need to hear this, because understanding narcissism isn't just eye-opening, it can be life-changing. Stick around, because what's coming next might make you see some of the people in your life in a whole new light. The illusion of perfection. Let's start with an uncomfortable question. Have you ever felt like you were losing yourself in a relationship? Maybe it was a partner, a family member, or even a colleague, but the dynamic felt off. They seemed to be perfect at first, showering you with compliments, attention, and validation. But soon, something shifted. Perhaps you started feeling more like an accessory to their life than an equal partner. That's a common experience for anyone involved with a narcissist. Narcissists often present an illusion of perfection, an image of someone who is desirable, confident, and capable. But beneath that perfect exterior is a fragile ego desperately seeking validation. They thrive on admiration and the reflection of their greatness in the eyes of others. And when that image begins to fade, when the validation no longer comes as easily, their true nature starts to emerge. What happens then? What are the narcissist's final words when their carefully constructed world falls apart? Now, don't get up just yet. We're just getting started, and what we're about to uncover will give you a deeper understanding of how narcissists function and why they behave the way they do. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand narcissism, but also how to protect yourself from being caught in its web. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share with anyone who needs to hear this. Let's jump into the psyche of a narcissist, shall we? The fragility of the narcissist's ego. At first glance, narcissists may appear to be the epitome of self-confidence. They often have an air of superiority, a sense of entitlement that makes them appear above the ordinary person. But in reality, this confidence is a facade, a protective layer around a fragile ego. Narcissists need constant external validation to feel good about themselves. Without it, they feel empty, insignificant, and, at worst, devastated. Their behavior is often driven by a need to prove their worth to themselves and others. However, this external validation is never enough. No matter how much praise they receive, the hunger for more is insatiable. In fact, when they are faced with a lack of admiration or are confronted with their flaws, they are pushed to the edge. Their reactions can be drastic, defensive, and manipulative. They may become hostile, blaming others for their perceived shortcomings. Or they might become silent and withdrawn, rejecting anyone who challenges their self-image. Imagine a narcissist who has spent their entire life curating their persona, a persona that is built on the admiration and praise they receive from others. What happens when that image is shattered? What happens when the admiration they rely on evaporates? Their final words may not be words of reflection or apology. Instead, they'll be words designed to protect their ego, no matter the cost. The narcissist's sense of entitlement. Narcissists believe they are entitled to special treatment, and they expect others to bow to their needs and desires. Whether in relationships or professional settings, they expect to be given preferential treatment, regardless of the circumstances. This sense of entitlement is so deeply ingrained that they often fail to see the needs or feelings of those around them. For them, relationships are transactional. If they give, they expect something in return, and if they don't receive that, they may discard you as if you were never important. Their final words are often wrapped in this sense of entitlement. They may accuse others of being ungrateful or of not appreciating everything they've done. If a narcissist is confronted with the reality that their behavior has caused harm, they are unlikely to take responsibility. Instead, they may deflect, making excuses, blaming others, or even shifting the blame onto those they've wronged. The narcissist is incapable of acknowledging their flaws because doing so would threaten the very foundation of their self-worth. The narcissist's lack of empathy. One of the most distinguishing traits of a narcissist is their lack of empathy. They cannot truly understand or share in the emotions of others. This is not because they don't care about other people. It's because they cannot see beyond themselves. They view others as extensions of their own needs and desires. If you serve those needs, you're valuable. If you don't, you're discarded. When a narcissist is confronted with the damage they've done, their response is rarely an apology or remorse. They might respond with something like, "You're overreacting," or "I never meant to hurt you." These statements are not expressions of genuine empathy. They are attempts to downplay the situation and shift the focus back onto themselves. The narcissist's final words will almost always be designed to make them look like the victim rather than the perpetrator. The narcissist's fear of abandonment. Despite their air of superiority, narcissists are deeply afraid of being abandoned. They have a constant fear of being rejected or forgotten, and this fear drives much of their behavior. To avoid abandonment, they manipulate, control, and isolate the people in their lives. This can make relationships with narcissists feel one-sided and draining. But when the people around them finally begin to see through the facade, the narcissist will react with anger and desperation. The fear of abandonment can lead to some of the most damaging behavior a narcissist exhibits. They may try to guilt-trip you into staying or use threats to get you back into their control. In their final moments, whether in a relationship or at the end of a friendship, they'll attempt to regain control, even if it means resorting to emotional manipulation. The narcissist's final words will often reflect this deep-seated fear, and they may use every tool at their disposal to prevent you from walking away. The narcissist's need for control. A narcissist is obsessed with control. This control is not just about physical dominance, it's about controlling perceptions, emotions, and outcomes. They need to ensure that they are always seen in a certain light, whether it's as successful, charming, or admired. When they lose control, it threatens their very sense of identity. In relationships, a narcissist will often dictate the terms of engagement. They might manipulate your actions or emotions to maintain dominance. But when they lose control, their reactions can be explosive. Their final words might not be an admission of guilt or failure. Instead, they may be an attempt to regain control, either by guilt-tripping or by blaming others for their downfall. The final words of a narcissist. In the end, a narcissist's final words are rarely a reflection of self-awareness. They are often an attempt to maintain control, to preserve the illusion of superiority, or to deflect blame. Narcissists live in a world where they are the center of attention, and when that world begins to crumble, they do everything in their power to avoid facing the truth. But the truth is, narcissism is a form of self-sabotage. The constant need for external validation, the inability to empathize with others, and the fear of abandonment all lead to a cycle of destruction. A narcissist's final words, whether it's a deflective comment or an angry outburst, are just another attempt to avoid confronting their own insecurities. Thank you for watching, and remember, understanding narcissism is the first step in protecting yourself from its influence. If this video has helped you gain insight into the behavior of narcissists, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and take care. The narcissist wishes they could change what happened. Have you ever thought about how someone with narcissistic traits might view their past actions? If you've ever been involved with a narcissist, you know that they rarely admit fault. They often seem immune to regret, trapped in a world where their needs and desires take center stage. But what if I told you that, deep down, some narcissists actually wish they could change the course of their actions? This is a shocking reality for many people who encounter narcissists. Despite their grandiose self-image and emotional detachment, these individuals sometimes long for a different outcome, even if they will never admit it publicly. Today, we're going to delve into an intriguing and complex aspect of narcissistic behavior, the paradox of regret and the desperate desire to change what happened. You might be wondering, why would a narcissist, someone who seems so sure of themselves, wish they could change the past? Stick around to uncover the psychology behind this paradox and understand the hidden emotional struggles of narcissists. Before we get started, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. It's a topic that many find helpful, and your support allows us to continue producing more videos like this. Let's dive in. The paradox of narcissistic regret. At first glance, narcissists may seem like the last people to ever regret their actions. After all, their inflated sense of self-importance and constant need for admiration creates an image of someone who believes they are infallible. If you've encountered a narcissist in your life, you know that they rarely admit to making mistakes. Instead, they are quick to deflect blame, often manipulating the narrative to cast themselves in a more favorable light. However, beneath the surface, there's a different story. Narcissists are often highly sensitive to the fallout of their actions, especially when it leads to a loss of admiration, respect, or control. While they may not display traditional forms of regret, the feeling of wishing things could have turned out differently is not foreign to them. This hidden wish for change stems from the narcissist's need for validation and recognition. When their behavior leads to personal failures, whether in relationships, career, or social settings, they are faced with the uncomfortable realization that they are not as perfect as they perceive themselves to be. But because their identity is built on maintaining a flawless image, admitting this imperfection can feel like an existential threat. So, the regret they feel often stays hidden beneath layers of denial, rationalization, and self-deception. Why narcissists struggle with regret. Regret is a complicated emotion, especially for narcissists. For most people, regret is a natural response to realizing that our actions have caused harm, missed opportunities, or lost relationships. It allows individuals to reflect on their behavior and, ideally, adjust moving forward. However, for narcissists, regret is a much more nuanced experience. 1. The need for perfection. Narcissists often hold themselves to impossibly high standards. This internal pressure to be flawless creates a defense mechanism. Any recognition of failure or imperfection is seen as a weakness. When they do feel regret, it's usually not because they acknowledge their mistakes, but because the outcome didn't align with their inflated self-image. 2. Fear of vulnerability. Admitting regret requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is something narcissists avoid at all costs. Being vulnerable would mean revealing cracks in their facade, and that's something they can't afford. If they allow themselves to feel regret, they would also have to confront their vulnerabilities, their deepest insecurities, fears, and weaknesses. 3. Cognitive dissonance. Narcissists often experience cognitive dissonance, a mental conflict that occurs when their actions don't align with their grandiose self-image. For example, if a narcissist behaves poorly toward a partner and the relationship ends, they might wish they could change the outcome, but admitting their role in the destruction of that relationship is too painful. To avoid this, they may convince themselves that the breakup was inevitable or blame the other